Hey guys, this is just a real quick video to show you how I solved a quite annoying problem with this Daikin thermostat. This is the latest and greatest top of the line unit. And quick rant on this. This freaking thermostat was $600. $600, and it's maybe 20 bucks worth of hardware. It's absolute trash for the money. This is the biggest ripoff about Daikin. Now, I love the system overall. Can't say enough good things about the performance of the Daikin system. Just got our last bill in. Our energy bills are down over a third. That's how efficient the system is and better performance. So love the system, but got ripped off on this, and you have to use it because it's the only thermostat. No third parties will work with the Daikin system. So just know you're paying a $600 Daikin tax when you get your system. Now, it functions all right as far as controlling the system and yada, yada, yada. But there are some nitpicks here. For $600, I'm going to show you why you should expect a lot more. And there's one feature here that was just driving me crazy until I came up with a fairly simple solution. Now, note this solution is going to require at least an Alexa product. I use a bunch of Echoes and stuff here in the house. We primarily use that, but you can also use Google Assistant. Now, one thing you'll notice right now is that time is not perfectly centered. That's because this display, it counts the PM and AM display as part of the centering algorithm. That absolutely drives me crazy. But you'll notice also, especially on camera, but even to the eye, you see this backlight, and this brightness is turned down. It never goes away. This is never a black display. Now, we had a Nest for years before this. Love that thermostat. That was an absolutely flawless display, used in OLED, high res, fast, fluid, just like a top of the line phone. It was perfect. That's what this should be for $600, and the Nest was less than half. Look at that. You go side to side here. This is all backlight you're seeing. This isn't any kind of reflection. This is what it looks like to your naked eye. So it never goes dark. There's a night mode which simply turns it off, but I like having the clock. This is what they call the screensaver. When we got it, and before it itself updated the firmware, there was even a nice analog clock. I like that a lot better. But this is now the only screensaver option for a clock, this off-center digital display. The other thing is the responsiveness of this touch panel. It's like a phone from 15 to 20 years ago. You touch it, it's plastic, number one, not glass, so the feeling of touching it, not nearly as nice as the Nest. But you touch it, that's how long of a delay there is for the screen to be responsive. Now, the function of the unit itself is fast enough. You can see it's near instant, but it doesn't always register, and sometimes there's that slight random delay. You can see it's not very accurate. Like I said, it's like a 15 to 20-year-old phone. But here's the main issue. So you've got modes: cool, heat, and auto. Now in auto, you have this buffer zone. And that's because there's no way, if you wanted to set both cool and heat to the same point, the system wouldn't ever function correctly, because when it's cooling, it's going to overshoot a little bit. Say you're set at 72 with your cool, the system will come on and it might turn off at 71, maybe 70, depends on your house and your system. And then it slowly ramps back up, and maybe at 73, it'll kick back on. The Daikin system overall is very consistent. I only see about a 1 degree variance. That's what's really nice, at least in cool. Now heat, it actually has a little bit more variation. So I'll see about a 2 degree variation up or down in heat. So there's overshoot in both those modes. And that's why you need this buffer zone. This is as close as you could ever get your temperatures set to. Let me see if I can squeeze any more of this. So right now there's a 7 degree variance between them. I think I can go to 5. Let's see. It's 4. Okay, so 4 degrees. We'll set to 72 and 68, right? So 4 degrees is the maximum. See, it's really hard. There we go. It's really hard to just be precise, especially with that kind of thing, because your finger is over both of those. It's a lot easier to do on the app. But anyway, in automatic mode, it's going to heat and cool automatically based on those two set points with 4 degrees apart. Fine, that works great. If you're okay with a 4 degree buffer zone, I'm not. I will take comfort because that turns into a 6 degree buffer zone because remember, there's some overshoot there. I don't like having that big zone. I like a nice constant temperature. If it's 68 degrees, that's a lot different than 72 to me. I feel a 4 degree difference, hot or cold, very easily. So I don't use automatic modes. I just use heat or cool, and that's it. Set them normally. Now, that's the way I've always done them. Here's the problem. Say your AC is set to 72, okay, no problem. With the Nest and the Ecobee and every other thermostat I've ever used, you set your cool to whatever you want and you set your heat to whatever you want. That's the way it should be. They're completely separate modes. They're only doing one at the same time. It's not an automatic. They don't talk to each other. And that's the way it should be. If you want your AC set at 72, you should be able to set your heat at 74, 80, 65, whatever you want. It shouldn't care. Now, if you go to heat, 68 degrees. Let's try to set that to 72. Okay, no big deal. That's nothing unusual. Let's go back to AC. 77. Well, that's funny because I was set at 72 before. That's because they are always linked behind the scenes, even when you use the individual modes. And that absolutely drives me crazy, which means you can't just tell it or switch it in the app or even here between heat and cool without having to also check and or change your temperature. I've never had to do that in any other thermostat. I've been able to just say, switch the thermostat to cool, switch the thermostat to heat, and not have to worry about what the temperature was set for. It will go back to whatever you were using before. So there's no way to change this. There's no setting. It's always linked, even if they're individual, and it just drives me nuts. So what I had to do, I can't fix it here on the display. I can't fix it using the app, but I can fix it with an Alexa routine so I can at least change it easily by voice, have it switch, and have it set to some set temperature. I've chosen 72 for both because that's typically what it's going to be at when I'm doing the change from heat to cool or vice versa. So let me show you what I did here. Alexa, switch the Nest to cool.
It's set to cool.
Now you can see that it switched to cool and it's coming down to my correct set point of 72. Now, just a quick note, Nest is the name I gave this thermostat because we're used to it, and that's just what we call whatever thermostat we're controlling. So it's not anything to do with the product. That's just the name of this thermostat. You can name it whatever you like. What I did is create 2 Alexa routines, one called switch to cool and one switch to heat. And what I did was enabled 2 different phrases that I can say. You can put in whatever you like. I put switch to cool and switch the Nest to cool. And again, put in whatever you use in your home. And then what it'll do is first give the command, set the Nest to cool, which is just like telling it. Now, by default, this will give it that spread. And that's what we want to then correct with the next command, which is setting the actual temperature to whatever you want. 72 is where I happen to want it to default to. So again, you've got the new voice commands that can be whatever you want. The word switch here is what's critical because if you use set, it will give the actual command that it recognizes. And then this is issuing the command as if you were saying it. And you do that by, I'm going to click add another action here just so I can show you. Up at the top, if you click custom, this is where you can give a routine something that you would say. So it's just like programming a robot in the room to say something. So that's a real easy way of giving your routines truly custom commands. And that's it. And I did the same thing for heat, and you can put in whatever temperature you like. And you could, of course, make different routines with different voice command triggers set to different temperatures. So you could create one, and the phrase could be switch to cool at 73 degrees, or whatever you want to say, and that could specifically set to 73 degrees. You can make it as wide as you like, whatever. But what this does is get around that set spread that the set to cool command or set to heat command will automatically come in with from the Daikin, and that's the problem. So that's it. Hope it helps somebody. See you next time.